I became a God-made millionaire by the age of 25. And although this video, I'm going to break down the 5 steps of how I did it, first I want to tell you exactly what I did not do. I did not have a trust fund. I did not even have a college degree. I am a college dropout. I did not marry into money. I did not have a wealthy family or connections or a head start of any kind. And I want to say that clearly at the beginning because I know this is the first thing people look for when they hear a story like mine. They think there must be some hidden variable, some advantage that makes it not applicable to you. But there was no hidden variable. What I had was a sequence of steps. 5 of them, and every single one was available to me before I took it. I just hadn't taken it yet. And every single one of these steps is available to you right now. By 23, I got a 6-figure job with no degree. 24, I was making $50K a month. And 25, I was a millionaire. I have since been able to buy nearly 200 acres, retire my parents, and give more to my church than I used to make in an entire year. I wake up without an alarm clock. When I'm sick, I get to stay in bed without losing income, take my family on all expense paid vacations. I pay people's rent, bought family members' vehicles, and have been able to show up for the people that I love without ever asking anyone else for permission. 5 steps in the order that they actually happen, because when you hear the real story, not the highlight reel, I think you're going to realize that the gap between where you are and where you want to be is smaller than you think. Step 1 is the hardest step, and it's the reason why most people never get to step 2. The first thing I had to stop doing was being a victim. I had to acknowledge that my life was my fault. I was a college dropout jumping between jobs with no real direction. I could have blamed whoever or whatever, my circumstances, the government, my family, the system, any of it. And some of it might have been defensible even, but that's what I learned, is that as long as you keep blaming your circumstances and things outside of yourself, you are also leaving the solution outside of yourself. And the moment I said this is on me, and I really meant it, not just as a confession, but a decision, something shifted. Because if I got myself into this mess, it meant I could get myself out of it. And the accountability was not just an admission, it was a transfer of power back to me. Now, let me add something to this, because most of what you've been taught about belief is going to fail you. You've probably been told to wake up every morning and declare that you are a millionaire, and your brain looks at your bank account and shuts that down immediately, because that is not belief. That is a fish waking up every morning claiming to be a bird. And you can claim it all you want, but it's not going to make wings grow out of your gills. And your brain knows it, which is why it rejects it. You see, what you're actually pulling from in the beginning of your journey is not confidence, but courage. You see, confidence comes after. Confidence is what happens when you have taken enough action to build proof. But at the start, when you've never done it before, when you have no track record, you're not pulling from confidence, you're pulling from courage. And courage is not believing that you are the greatest person who ever lived. Courage is trusting God. It's knowing that all things are working for your good and believing that what you are asking for is even available for you to have. And I want you to level with me here, because this is what I realize, is that a lot of you are not even walking into the store because you have already decided that what you came to ask God for is sold out. But God does not run out of blessing. He does not run out of businesses that could be successful. He does not run out of people who need the service that you have to offer, the very gift He created for you to walk in and fulfill. The inventory, when you are praying to a God of abundance, does not run out. The question is whether you will walk through the door. And so the path is this. You use courage to take the first step. That step builds competence, and competence, actual results, proof, and receipts is what builds confidence. But courage comes first, competence second, and confidence third, and in that order. And a person who is confident they can swim before they've ever been in the water isn't brave. That person is a fool who is going to drown. And I didn't wake up confident I was going to be a millionaire. I woke up courageous enough to try one more thing, and God honored that every single time. Now, the second step, I want to take you back to a specific moment. I had been at this for 2 years, 2 years of free content, of videos, of tutorials, of free advice from every direction, watching and reading. And in those 2 years, I had made a whopping $2, not 2,000, but $2. And I was starting to wonder if I was the problem. And then I finally got tired of wasting my time. And so I bought a program, not because I had a lot of money, because I did not. I got it on a payment plan, and my first payment was $300. And that $300, I had to think hard about spending and I prayed and I took the leap and made the investment. And within 30 days, I had made my first $1,000. And the month after that, I had made my first $5,000. And I remember going to the bank and withdrawing that money in cash, not because I needed to, but because I wanted to hold it. It was physical, real money that I had made from the internet, from a skill that I already had, from something that I built. And I stood there holding it and thinking that this is real. This actually works. And then immediately after that, the thought that came was the one that stayed with me ever since, is that I wish I had done this sooner. 2 years of free content had given me confusion. 2 months of a paid program had given me over $5,000 and a completely different belief about what was possible. And this changed the trajectory of my life ever since. That's when I learned that you can either pay with time or you can pay with money, but you are going to pay. And money is infinite. You can always make more. But the 2 years that I lost are 2 years that I'm never going to get back. And this is why it matters beyond your bank account. I had a student who joined my program after spending years trying to figure it out herself because she was ready to finally invest. And when she did, she shortened her learning curve and she was able to pay for a trip with her mother that they always wanted to do. They did it together. They did the things they always talked about. And that trip, unfortunately, ended up being the last one that they ever took together. Her mother passed away not long after. And you see, if she had spent that year trying to figure it out for free, that memory would not exist. You can't buy it back. You can't get a refund on the time. Nobody knows how much time they have left. And so you're gambling with the one thing that is truly finite when money is the one thing that you can always make more of. Now, step 3 is if you followed the first 2. And it sounds obvious, but if it were obvious, everyone would do it. And just follow the program. When you get a program, follow the program. And I know you're thinking, who would buy a program and not follow it? Well, I get on review calls with my students all the time. I review their websites, their social media, their strategies, and I can immediately tell when someone has not listened to a single thing that I have taught them. And the things that they're struggling with are the things that I directly addressed. I can pinpoint in the exact video that they did not listen. And the thing that kills most people is not the strategy or even the discipline. It's the delayed gratification, that they want to see results before the results are ready to show themselves. It's because they don't understand that a tree does not grow up first, that it grows down, that the roots go deep. And during that season where nothing is visible above the surface, something is happening underneath, and it's happening in the soil where you cannot see it yet. Sometimes God will have you in a waiting season, not just to build something for you, but to build something in you. Because if you arrived at the destination in the condition you are today, you wouldn't even be able to carry the thing that he has waiting for you there. Maybe your mental health wouldn't be able to handle the level of notoriety you're asking for. Maybe the money would ruin relationships that you are not yet equipped to protect. Maybe the waiting isn't punishment, but it's preparation. And the people who understand that they work the process with peace instead of panic. And then they are ready when the results finally show up. Now, step number 4 is I have to start with an honest question. If you could make the same amount of money doing 2 completely different things, would it matter which one you choose? I used to think it wouldn't matter. I used to think that income was income and that freedom was freedom. Get the money and the freedom and then figure out fulfillment later. And then I built a successful resume and interview coaching business. And within months, I was making as much from it as I was making at my job. And the moment I realized I could actually replace my income, I had one thought: I don't want to do this forever. I had spent years trying to escape a job I didn't love, and I had just built myself another one. Different industry, better pay, but the same trap. Because every new client was another obligation, another time slot, another person whose results depended on me showing up physically. And the more successful I became at coaching, the busier I became. And the busy was not what I was building toward. So I had to sit down and ask myself a question I never asked before. Not what can I make money doing, but what life do I actually want? I wanted to wake up without an alarm clock. I wanted to get on a plane tomorrow if I wanted without asking permission, be there when my family needed me without calculating whether or not I could afford the PTO to take a day, to give generously without doing the math on whether I could afford to, and work in a way that felt like me. And I looked at the coaching business I had built and I realized it could give me the money, but it couldn't give me the life. And comment, what type of life is it that you are praying for? You see, sometimes you look at somebody's bounty when you don't have their blessing. You want their outcome when you don't have their anointing. And when you try to build someone else's model without their gifting and temperament and their definition of freedom, you will either fail entirely or succeed miserably. And both are the wrong destination. Nobody can ever beat you at a game that you were designed to play. And I had proof the model could work, but I just hadn't found the right model for me yet. And that's when it came to step 5, which is build the container before you ask for the harvest. I was doing live webinars, live coaching calls, building in real time for real people who needed me present for every single session. And it was working. The income was there, but every time I asked God for more, for the kind of scale where hundreds of people could come through at once, I felt something. Not a no, more like, look at what you've built. Look at the ceiling you have put on the answer yourself. I was asking God to pour, but I hadn't set out the containers. In 2 Kings 4, the question that the prophet asks is, what do you have in your house? Not what she wishes she had, but what is in her hands right now. And she had a small jar of oil, and he says, use it. Fill every container you can find. And the oil kept flowing until there was no more containers left to fill it. The ceiling was not God's ceiling. The ceiling was mine. I had built a system with a cap on it and then asked God to fill something beyond the cap. So I realized I had to change the system. I shut down the live model. I built an automated course, something that a person could buy at 2 in the morning and start immediately without me having to be there. I removed myself as the bottleneck, and then I set out the containers and I asked God to pour. And the month that we switched, the income jumped. We hit our first $100,000 month, then $200,000 month. And that month, the highest grossing month, the highest profit month we ever had was the month that I actually worked the least. And then there was a Tuesday at Universal Studios during Christmas where my family and I went into one of the stores shopping after a full day of park rides, and I pulled out my phone to check the dashboard, and $14,000 that we made in a single day while I spent the entire day on roller coasters. And I just stood there in the middle of that store and I couldn't speak. Because I remembered when I was making $11 an hour. I remembered the 2 years of free content that produced $2. I remembered that first $300 payment that felt like a risk that I thought I was crazy for doing. And now I was watching money come in while I was at a theme park with my family. And I still wake up every single morning and say, I cannot believe this is my life. No degree, dropped out of college, didn't marry rich, no trust fund, just these 5 steps and a God who showed up every single time I showed up. And I know you're wondering, what's the specific model, Danielle, that made this all possible? And that is the automated course system. That is the thing that I produced $14,000 on a roller coaster day. That's the thing that got me $100,000 and $200,000 month. And I teach exactly how to build that in the free training in the description. And it doesn't matter what transformation you have or what you know. I've helped people build courses around decorating door wreaths and Bible journaling, losing their first 10 pounds, planning group trips, finding your personal style. If you have any before and after, if you have anything that you've helped, something that somebody else could learn, the free training walks you through exactly how to turn that hobby, interest, or idea into income that doesn't require your time to produce money. And that training is free and the link is in the description. And if it's where God is leading you, then I would love to help you get there. Because I believe that what God did for me, I know that he can do for anyone that he chooses. But you have to take the first step. You have to stop waiting for something outside of you to save you, because God already did that. That is finished, but everything else is yours to build. So comment below which of these 5 steps is the one that you are on right now, because knowing where you are is the first step to knowing what comes next. And if you know the next step for you is to get help, you're ready to stop guessing and to start taking action with a real proven path from someone who's done it before. And if the lifestyle that you commented you want is the same place that I am now, then I will show you exactly how to get there in that free training in the description. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe and hit the thumbs up button, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.